first we need to find the critical points. So critical points is actually representing the coordinate for x and y. Okay, x equals to A, y equals to B lah. Alright. So guys, in certain questions, not necessarily we have only one coordinate, one critical point. It can be 2, it can be 3. Okay, and usually in your final exam, there will be more than 2 critical points. Okay, so walaupun even though in our exercises and tutorials, normally we only have only 1 or 2 critical points, but sometimes it can be more than 2 critical points. It depends on the given function. Okay, if the power of the variable is higher, then the possibility we have more than 2 critical points exists is there. Okay, so it depends on the given function. So now, how do we find the critical points? Macam mana nak cari critical point ni? First step, we have to differentiate our function. Okay, biasanya kita akan diberi fxy kan? This is our function, given function fxy. This is in the question. This is the question fxy. So in order to find the critical points, we have to differentiate our function f partially with respect to x. Okay, so we need to find fx and then equate this with 0. So this becomes our first equation. Okay. After that, we need to differentiate f with respect to y. And then samakan juga dengan 0. Equate this with 0. Therefore, this will becomes our second equation. Like this. So what you should do now, in order to find the coordinate of x and y, you have to solve equation 1 and 2 simultaneously. So that you can get the values of x and y. And always bear in mind, as I mentioned earlier, critical point can be more than 1, can be more than 2. It depends on the function fxy kita yang diberi dalam soalan lah. Okay. Next, after we get the critical points, what you should do is you have to, okay, second step. Okay, you have to find number 1, find fxx. Okay, means you have to differentiate again your fx here. You have to differentiate again your fx here with respect to x. Okay, this is higher order partial derivative kan? Kita dah belajar hari tu kan? 3.2, topic 3.2. Okay, next you have to find fxy. So again, differentiate your fx with respect to y. Okay. After that, find fyy. So you have to refer to this. Okay, fy, and then differentiate again with respect to y. All right. So the last step, third step, is called as the second derivative test. Okay, nama dia second derivative test. The second derivative test. Okay, we have D, denoted as D, equals to fxx multiply with fyy minus fxy squared. Macam tu. Okay. Actually guys, formula dia macam ni. We have a determinant, sort of macam determinant lah, like this. Okay. But as we know, okay, determinant kan dia biasanya macam ni. Fxx darab fyy kan. Minus fxy darab ke atas ni. Tapi fxy sama kan dengan fyx. fxy equals to fyx. That's why dia jadi fxy kuasa 2 kat belakang ni. Okay. So just tak perlulah cari fyx pula sebab fxy kan sama dengan fyx. So cari satu je lah, cari fxy. Just that's it, macam tu. Okay, now after we get the values of d, okay, we get the function of d kat sini ni, you akan dapat satu equation baru lah. Ataupun sometimes kalau soalan tu mudah, you akan dapat constant je, akan dapat nilai. So tak perlu gantikan critical point. Okay. Tapi kalau misal kata bila you substitute tu you dapat lah misal kata 2x darab 3y kuasa 2 tolak 2x macam tu. Kuasa 2. Contoh macam ni kan. So you will get 12 pula 6xy squared minus 4x kuasa 2. So untuk cari D ni you kena gantikan nilai XY ni. So kat mana nak ambil XY yang hasil dia ni adalah comes from this critical points lah. Critical points tadi tu. So you kena, that's why the first step is very crucial. Okay, kalau you punya critical point tu salah, coordinate tu salah, you ganti nilai yang salah dalam D, dalam function D ni, habis lah. Salah lah, conclusion bawah awak nanti salah lah, jawapan awak kan salah. That's why paling penting first step ni, kena betul cari critical points tu. Okay? Understand guys what I mean?
Yes, Doctor.
Understand, madam.
Okay, good.
Yes,
Alright.
madam.
Ni contoh je tau. So saya padam balik yang ni. Ni saya buat contoh tadi tu lah. Kat mana nak guna critical point tu balik. Dekat sini lah. Kena ganti nilai nanti ni. Okay, now after we get the values of D, there are 4 conclusions can be drawn from the values of D. Okay, so conclusions. Number 1, if your D positive values greater than 0, okay, bila you calculate tadi, you dah ganti nilai critical point, you dapat nilai besar daripada kosong, nilai yang positif. Okay, you should refer to your fxx. Ini penting juga. You kena refer balik your fxx. Okay, so if your fxx also greater than 0, okay, also greater than 0, then the conclusion is relative minimum. Okay. Number 2, again, if D also positive, as I mentioned earlier, if D positive, we need to refer to fxx, right? So kita pun refer fxx. Tapi kali ni, bila kita refer fxx kita negative number. Okay, dapat negative. So what happened to the conclusion? It becomes relative maximum. Dia terbalik guys. Kalau dia greater than 0, dia minimum. Kalau dia less than 0, dia maximum untuk fxx lah. Okay, conclusion number 3. If after you calculate your D, you get negative number. Okay, negative number which is less than 0. Okay, no need for you to look at your fxx. Once dapat je negative number, value D ni nombor negatif, automatically it becomes a saddle point. So tak payah tengok, tak payah refer pada fxx lah. Kalau D tu negatif, straight away conclude kan nilai critical point tu adalah saddle point. Nilai dia. Titik tu adalah saddle point. Okay, then last one, if your D equals to 0, so no conclusion. Alright. So these conclusions you have to memorize. You kena hafal ni, kena ingat. Okay, case-case dia ni. Alright, so let us start with exercise 3.5. Exercise 3.5. Let us do question number... Kita buat yang simple dulu. Question number 1 ke number 2 you all nak?
1.
Number 1. Number 1 tak ada lagi dalam video Video saya share YouTube tu. Ni mesti tak tengok video ni. Dah ada belum? Solution dalam YouTube video.
Tak.
Tak ada lagi. Tak tengok ke tak ada lagi? Tak apa. Dia
The
tak solve
video
lagi.
shows question 3 only, Doctor.
Oh, question 3 only. Oh, I see.
Yes.
Okay. Alright. Okay, jom kita solve question number 1. Oh, I see. Dia buat question number 3. Alright. Solution. Okay, step by step So now first step. Ni saya guide dululah first step. First step, find the critical point. Okay. So kita differentiate fx. Ingat first step tadi you kena cari fx equatekan dengan 0, samakan dengan 0. So we will have fx differentiate our fxy ni with respect to x. So we will get 2x plus differentiate second term we will get second term tu dapat apa? Y, yes. And then plus 4 equals to 0. Sebab 2y dengan plus 5 tu just a constant. So this is our first equation. Okay. Next we need to find fy. Differentiate our function fxy with respect to y. So x becomes the constant. Therefore x squared becomes 0. Differentiate second term xy with respect to y we get x. And then for x becomes 0. Differentiate to y becomes 2. Equate this with 0. So this is the second equation. So from 2, kita nak solve simultaneously kan? So as we can see clearly here, we can take from 2. From 2, we have x plus 2 equals to 0. Automatically x equals to negative 2. Okay, so substitute in 1. So we have 2x. 2 times x. X is negative 2 plus y plus 4 equals to 0. So therefore y equals to apa ni? 0 lah, isn't it? Okay. So therefore soalan ni dia simple, dia senang lah. Ada satu je critical point. Therefore the critical point is negative 2 and 0. Okay, student tends to sometimes mistakenly position dia tertukar position coordinate x dengan y. So make sure betul-betul bila you dah kira tu, dia dikira dah betul. Kira dah betul kat sini, tapi bila dia letak koordinat tu jadi salah. So make sure you betul-betul tulis kalau sini x lah. Kat sini y lah Jangan terbalik jadi kosong negatif 2 pula. Biasanya student dalam final exam nak cepat kan, 3 jam tak cukup kan. Memang kadang-kadang tersilap lah, careless. Tapi bila you careless kat sini, habislah drag bawah, conclusion pun salah. Be careful Okay. So, second step. Second step, we need to find the second partial derivative. Okay, tak keluar pula. Find fxx. Fxx means you have to differentiate again this with respect to x. So kita hanya differentiate ini sahaja kan. Alright, so we will get 2. Okay, and then find fxy. Again, differentiate fx with respect to y. So we just consider this, then differentiate y terhadap y, dapat 1 lah. Becomes 1. And then after that, find fyy. So fyy, you kena refer yang ni. Yang kat bawah ni. So dapat apa kalau differentiate fyy?
Kosong.
0, yes, kosong, betul. So 0. Soalan ni dia tak ada variable pun guys. So tak perlu ganti pun critical point. Sebab dia tak ada, faham tak? Bila kita differentiate tu dia dapat constant dah. So third step, calculate your D. D equals to fxx multiply with fyy minus fxy kuasa 2. Squared like this. So fxx is 2 multiply with fyy 0. Okay, ingat 2 darab dengan ni. 2 fxx darab dengan fyy. Kosong. Tolak. fxy 1 kuasa 2. So you will get negative 1. Soalan ni simple sangat ni. Now, since D less than 0, thus what's the conclusion? Perlu tengok fxx tak?
Tak.
Tak perlu. So automatically
Saddle point.
saddle point.
Saddle
Yes, it is
point.
yes, it is a saddle point. Guys, saya bagi situasi dalam final exam Soalan ni dia senang. Dia sangat simple lah. You tak payah ganti nilai critical point pun dalam ni. Sebab you tengok nilai dia dah dapat constant dah. Dia tak ada x dengan y. So tak boleh nak ganti pun koordinat x dengan y yang ni. Kita tak tahu nak ganti kat mana. Tak perlu pun sebab soalan dia simple sangat yang ni. Okay, but in your final exam, okay, dekat fxx ni pun ada variable tau. Contohnya, macam saya cakap tadi lah, x kuasa 3 ke, tolak 2y ke. Yang ni pun sama, kadang-kadang 2x kuasa 3, macam tu. Yang ni pun sama, kadang-kadang dia ada variable lah. So, bila dia ada variable, dekat D pun dia akan ada variable. So, you kena gantikan nilai critical point tu tadi dalam formula D yang kita dapat tu. Okay, baru you come out with conclusion. And then sometimes guys, dalam final exam, since it's more than one critical point, okay, normally I always suggest my student to use table. Okay, saya kata you ada table macam ni. This is the critical point. Critical points. Alright, and then this is your D. Calculate your D. And then here is fxx. And then this is your conclusion lah. Conclusion. Macam tu. So, senang. Senang kita nak tengok student tu. Okay, misal kata dia ada 3 critical points lah. You kena buat 3 lah. Okay. So, you kena calculate. Okay, for example yang tadi tu negative to 0 kan. Let's say second critical point is 0, 0 ke. And then satu lagi adalah 2, 3 ke. Contohnya macam tu. Dalam final exam ni saya bagi situasi dalam final exam. Misal kata ada 3 critical points. So, you have to test one by one. So, you akan ada 3 conclusion lah. Okay, misal kata kalau yang ni D, misal kata yang ni dapat D sama dengan 20. So greater than 0, so you kena refer fxx. You kena tengok fxx you adalah greater or less than 0, baru you concludekan kat sini. Okay, ni pun sama. Tapi kalau misal kata dia dapat negatif 10 lah, dia less than 0. Yang ni you dashkan je. So ini akan jadi saddle point. Macam tu. Okay, yang ni pun samalah dan begitulah seterusnya. Kalau ada 4 lah. Tapi biasanya 3 lah dalam final exam, biasanya 3. Understand?
Yes, Doctor.
Okay. Guys, after this, saya memang akan banyak relate dengan final exam tau. Sebab kita memang dah ke fasa final exam. So, throughout my lecture, saya akan sentiasa bagi tips untuk menjawab final exam. So, make sure you pay your attention during our synchronous class lah. Okay? Alright, so ini saya padam dulu. Kan you confuse pula bila saya share nanti. Apa benda ni dia buat kat bawah ni table. Ini saya padam dulu. Alright. So next, question number 3 dah ada dalam video Kita buat question number 2 pun senang. Number 4 nak? Number 4. Question number 4. Okay, so now solution. Cari fx. So differentiate for xy, we get 4y minus 2x. Equate this with 0. So this is your first equation. And then cari fy, we get 4x minus 3y squared. Equate this with 0. So this is your second equation. Okay. So of course from 1, we have 4y equals to 2. Step by step minus 2x equals to 0. Therefore, 2x equals to 4y kan? Therefore, x equals to 2y. Like that. Okay. Now, substitute. Substitute x equals to 2y in equation 2. So, we have 4x. 4 times 2y minus 3y squared equals to 0. So we have 8y minus 3y squared equals to 0. So kita factorkan y. We get 8 minus 3y equals to 0. So y equals to 0 and 8 minus 3y equals to 0. Therefore, 3y equals to 8. So y equals to 8 over 3. Okay. All right. Now, when x equals to, since x equals to 2y, okay, since x equals to 2y, thus, when y equals to 0, of course lah kita dapat x pun equals to 0, isn't it? Kalau if y equals to 8 over 3, so kita juga akan dapat x tak keluar lagi. X equals to 2y. 2 darab 8 per 3 jadi 16 per 3. Okay. So, the critical points are we have 0, 0. Oh, tapi kita kena test dulu Sekejap saya tulis dulu. 0, 0 and 16 over 3, 8 over 3, isn't it? Macam tu. Okay, now guys, dia kena memenuhi equation atas ni kan? Okay. Dia kena memenuhi, fulfill this two equation. Kalau kita masukkan 0, 0, x equals to 0, y equals to 0, dia memenuhi both equations tak? Memenuhi lah kan? Faham tak maksud memenuhi ni? If I substitute x equals to 0 here,
Dia dapat 0 lah.
dapat 0, dia memenuhi. Dia betul lah equation ni. First kan? Second pun sama kan? Dapat 0 juga kan?
Yes.
So 0, 0 also the critical points lah. Okay, and then 16/3 and 8/3 of course lah. Kalau kita masukkan lah, tadi x equals to 16/3, y equals to 8/3. Kalau you masukkan pun 18 x equals to 16/3, memenuhi tak yang atas tu? 30/3 tolak 30/3 dapat kosong, betul. Yang kat bawah 4x, 4 kali 64/3, 16 kali 4, 8/3, samalah. Memenuhi jugalah. So yes, both. Itu cara nak check betul tak critical point awak tu. Ni betul, yang ni pun betul. Faham tak maksud saya? Dalam final exam nanti, sometimes kalau you tak sure jawapan you tu betul ke tak critical points tu, you double check balik. Kalau you ganti nilai dalam setiap variable x dengan y tu dapat tak kosong. Tapi dengan syarat dua-dua memenuhi. Equation pertama pun dapat kosong, equation kedua pun dapat kosong. Kalau bila you ganti nilai, salah satu je yang dapat kosong, benda tu bukan critical point dia lah. Understand? Saya ajar ni cara nak check betul tak critical points kita tu. Yang you dapat tu dalam final exam nantilah. Understand guys?
Yes, better.
Sebab saya memang every semester student dia jawab critical point, tapi critical point tu salah. So next time this semester kalau you nak double check balik, bila you dah calculate critical points tu, you ganti nilai dalam atas ni, kalau betul-betul dia dua-dua dapat kosong, bila you masukkan nilai, confirm jawapan you tu betul, critical point awak tu betul. Itu saja saya bagi tips untuk check critical points kita betul ke tak. Alright, so jom kita proceed. Second step. Cari second step. Find fxx. Okay, fxx. Fxx equals to, differentiate again this with respect to x, you will get differentiate yang ni. Terhadap x, you akan dapat negative 2 kan. So dapatlah negative 2. Ni constant lagi guys. Kita tak jumpa lagi yang ada variable. And then cari fxy, differentiate terhadap y pula, dapat 4 kan. 4y, so dapat 4 lah. And then fyy dapat apa? Fyy dapat?
Negative 6y.
Yes, negative 6y. Okay, good. Ada pun, negative 6y. Okay. So third step. Cari D. D equals to fxx darab fyy minus fxy squared. Okay, so now fxx adalah negative 2. You darabkan dengan 6y. Finally ada juga variable dalam ni. Okay, good. So minus 4 squared. Okay. Negative 2 darab 6y tolak 4 kuasa 2. So we will get negative 12y minus 16. So that is our D. Okay, nice. So now substitute the critical point. Okay, calculate D. At mana critical point kita tadi? Okay, kita buat table teruslah, senang Saya buat table terus. Okay, kita ada 2 critical points tadi kan?
Madam, FYY 6Y je.
XYY.
FYY ke negative 6Y kan?
Oh, negative 6y. Saya tertinggal negative. Thank you so much. So negative 6y. So negative dia jadi positif lah kan? Thank you. 12y minus 16 kan? Macam ni Betul guys?
Yes, doctor.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank you so much. Alright, so jom kita buat table. Okay, now this is the critical points. Yang ni calculate your D, yang ni fxx. Yang ni conclusion lah. Okay, let us test 0, 0 first. 0, 0. Okay, so bila titik 0, 0, you gantikan dalam D. Ini 0 kan? So you akan dapat D equals to negative 16, isn't it? D equals to negative 16. Okay, this is less than 0. So bila less than 0, kena tengok tak fxx?
No need.
No need, yes. No need, tak perlu. Yes, tak perlu. So dashkan je. Therefore, the conclusion is?
Saddle point.
Saddle point, yes. Very good. Saddle point. Okay. Dah. Lepas tu, yang kedua, koordinat kita. Mana tadi? 16/3, 8/3. 16/3, 8/3. Cuba you calculate. Gantikan 8/3 dalam ni. Cuba calculate nilai D tu dapat berapa? D sama dengan 12 darab 8/3 tolak 16. Dapat berapa guys?
16.
Sorry?
16.
16. 16 positif?
Yes.
Okay, so positif greater than 0. So what happen bila greater than 0? Kita kena refer apa? fxx. Luckily, fxx dalam soalan ni senang. Dia memang dah negatif. Tak perlu kira dah. So fxx is less than 0. So what's the conclusion guys? Relative maximum or minimum?
Maximum.
Maximum. Okay, maximum. Well done. Relative maximum. Okay, good. Very good. Understand guys the steps?
Yes, doctor.
Okay, good. Well done. Okay. So next, yang ni, you boleh nak expand pun boleh. Question number 5 ni. Kalau nak mudah kita expand. So you dapat fxy. Fxy. Darablah 2x cube plus. Kalau nak pakai product rule pun boleh. Tapi kalau better expand lah. Kalau saya expand je. Okay, so yx squared plus 2x squared y plus y kuasa 2. Macam tu. So you will have 2x cube plus 3x squared y, isn't it? Plus y squared. So that is your function for question number 5. Okay, now kita go to tutorial. Tutorial kadang menarik juga soalan dia. Sekejap saya tengok Okay, jom kita buat nombor 26 ni. Question 26. Exponential function. Tutorial. Question 26. Ada exponential. So far tak silap saya dalam final exam tak pernah lagi keluar exponential lah. Pernah sekali kot dalam 3 tahun lepas if I'm not mistaken. Ada soalan function exponential. But for this semester, not sure lah. Keluar ke tak, tak apa. Kita just buat je dulu ni. Okay, so now solution. Kita cari fx, differentiate terhadap x apa yang constant?
Y.
Y, very good. So y exponent xy, equate this with 0. So that is your first equation. And then fy, X lah kat depan kan sebab X jadi constant. So exponent XY equals to 0. So equate this. This is the second equation. Okay guys, logically, when it comes to this case, secara logik ni kalau you solve simultaneous equation ni sekalipun, dia nak memenuhi, jadikan dia 0, of course lah. We will get contohnya kan y exponent xy equals to 0. Automatically y equals to 0, isn't it? Yang ni pula, ni pun sama. Sebab kalau kita bawa ke bawah pun dia akan jadi 0 kan. X exponent xy equals to 0, therefore x equals to 0 lah. So when we substitute 0 dengan 0 dalam equation pertama dan kedua, both will get 0, isn't it? So dia memenuhi kan? Therefore, the critical point is 0, 0. Macam tu. Okay. So now, next we need to find the fxx. So differentiate again this with respect to x. Pakai product rule tak? Do we need to use product rule?
Tak perlu.
Tak perlu, yes, no need. Okay, no need. So the constant is y. So y bawa ke depan lagi becomes y squared, exponent of xy. Okay, and then cari fxy. Okay, untuk fxy kena pakai product rule tak?
Yes.
Yes, you have to use the product rule because this is our variable y. Dekat sini pun ada y. So pakai product rule, this is u, this is v. Okay, so u v prime. U is y, differentiate exponent xy with respect to y, we have x. Exponent xy plus v exponent xy darab dengan differentiate y terhadap y dapat 1. So our fxy is saya factor outkan je lah exponent xy tu. Dia jadi x darab y tambah 1. Okay, so that is your fxy. Okay, next cari fyy. Nak cari fyy, you kena refer yang kat bawah. Refer yang ni. Do we need to use product rule in order to find fyy?
No need.
No need, okay, because x just a constant. So memandangkan x ni constant, x tu bawa ke depan, dia akan jadi x squared exponent of xy lah. So x squared exponent of xy like this. Okay, very good. So now just calculate your d. D equals to fxx darab fyy minus fxy kuasa 2. Macam tu. So we will have y squared exponent xy darabkan dengan x squared exponent of xy minus exponent of xy plus 1 squared. Like that. So now at 0, 0, kan critical point kita 0, 0 tadi. Substitute dalam D ni. Of course lah, y squared 0 darab exponent 0, 0 lah. Exponent 0, 1 kan. So darab 0, 0 lah, ni pun sama. Minus exponent 0, 0 plus 1. Kuasa 2. Like that. So we have, this is 0 minus 1. Kan, exponent 0 kan 1. So we get negative 1. Okay, since D less than 0. So what's the conclusion?
Saddle point.
Yes, saddle point. Very good. Okay, very good. Understand, guys?
Yes, madam.
Okay, well done. Satu di soalan. Saya nak cari yang ada 2 lah. Sekejap saya nak jawapan yang ada 2 Question number 29 lah. Menarik sikit question number 29. Alright, this question. Copy. Okay, so now find the critical points. Cari fx samalah dengan 2x plus 4 equals to 0. Fy pula dapat 3 kali 3, 9, y kuasa 2 minus 9 equals to 0 kan? Okay, so this is your first equation. This is your second equation. Ini tak payah guna simultaneous equation pun. Sebab dia tinggal satu variable je. Kan? Ini x. Ini y. So, direct je lah ni guys. From 1, we have 2x plus 4 equals to 0. Therefore, x equals to negative 2, isn't it? And then from 2, we have 9y squared minus 9 equals to 0. So y squared equals to 1. Therefore y equals to plus minus 1 kan? Understand? Jangan tertinggal pula. Dia kalau kuasa, okay guys, kalau kuasa dia genap, kuasa 2, kuasa 4, kuasa 6, kuasa 8, dia akan ada plus minus ni. So dia ada dua nilai. Satu positif, satu lagi negatif. Okay? Understand? Untuk kuasa genap sahaja. Kalau kuasa ganjil, you have to be careful lah. Not necessarily negative tu termasuk lah. Okay, now, therefore, the critical points are okay, kita ada dua ni guys. Yang pertama, negative 2, positive 1. And yang kedua, negative 2, negative 1. Sebab y ni ada dua tadi kan. Y plus minus 1. So we have two critical points lah. Okay, so now next cari fxx. Differentiate again with respect to x, you get 2. Cari fxy. Fxy dapat apa? Fxy dapat
0.
0. Yes, very good. You get 0. Fyy dapat apa guys?
18y.
18y. Yes. Okay, 18y. Okay, good. So next cari d, fxx darab fyy minus fxy kuasa 2. Okay, so we have 2 times 18y minus 0 squared. So we get 36y. Alright. So now memandangkan kita ada 2, terus plot table lah, senang. Okay, this is the critical points. D, fxx. Okay, so critical points. Ini nilai D, ini fxx, ini conclusion. Okay, we start with negative 2, 1. Negative 2, 1. Calculate your D. D dapat 36 kan? So greater than 0. So fxx, bila dia greater than 0, kena refer fxx lah. Fxx equals to 2. So also greater than 0. So what's the conclusion? Relative
Minimum.
minimum. Okay, very good. Relative minimum. Next, negative 2, negative 1. So you all dapat, bila you gantikan negative 1 dalam y ni, you dapat negative 36. So less than 0. Perlu refer fxx tak?
Tak
perlu.
perlu.
Tak perlu. So dashkan saja. Therefore the conclusion is
Saddle point.
saddle point. Okay, well done. Okay, so understand guys? Topic today, and did you understand? Boleh faham?
Boleh.
Okay, good. So